How are you doing, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in this video I'm gonna be talking about gaming PCs, and it's not a good time at all to build a gaming PC for yourself. So we're taking it from the low-end PCs all the way up to high-end PCs. Now in the low-end PCs, when you wanna build yourself a budget gaming PC, the first CPU you look at is the Pentium G4560. But right now the Pentium G4560 is for $75. It's $15 more expensive than what it used to be. It used to be for somewhere between $65 to be more exact. I guess we witnessed a huge raise in price because a lot of crypto miners bought this CPU, because crypto mining doesn't seem to be that CPU intensive, so they pair the cheapest CPU they can get with a lot of GTX 1070s and 1080 Ti's. So yeah, that's why the Pentium G4560 isn't cheap. When we look at budget GPUs, we find an RX 560, RX 550, a GT 1030 and the GTX 1050. The GT 1030 and the RX 550 are not worth it if you're gonna yourself a new budget gaming PC. These GPUs are made for people who do not have a good power supply and they want to put this GPU in their old Dell or Lenovo computers. So yeah, it's not made for you to put on your newest budget system, because it's not meant for 1080p medium to ultra setting gamings. These are budget oriented GPUs, and if you spend more money you get better performance when you choose a GPU like an RX 460 or an RX 560, which brings us to the RX 560 and the GTX 1050. Now the RX 560 is $420, but when you compare that GPU to the RX 460, you don't find a lot of performance improvements, which kinda not okay for me, because you're paying extra $20. Why would you pay an extra $20 for additional 2 to 3 frame rates? And you'll have to get a good power supply, because yeah, the RX 560 does need a good power supply, and the RX 560 also requires a 6-pin power connector, and because of the release of the RX 560 you cannot find an RX 460 on sale. I mean, we used to find an RX 460 for somewhere between $60 to $80 all the time, but once they released the RX 560 you pretty much can't find the RX 460 anywhere for cheap. You find it somewhere in the $100. So yeah, the RX 560 isn't a good GPU for the price, and because of it you might want to think twice before you get the RX 460, and if it's me I wouldn't put $100 on an RX 460. Which brings us to the GTX 1050, and for $100 this is the best GPU you can get in my opinion. So yeah, there is no problems with that. Which brings us to the mid to high end gaming. The CPU side, you only have to go with the R5, and the R5 is kind of expensive, and yeah, I'm waiting for the R3 series, the Ryzen R3 series, because the i3 doesn't seem to be worth it. The Pentium G4560 have about the same performance when you compare it to an i3, to a Kaby Lake i3. I guess the only option for you is to wait for the Ryzen R3, and we do not know yet when will AMD release it. So yeah, you're a dead end there. So you might wanna pick up an R5 1400 now, or wait for Ryzen's R3 series. Now when we go to the GPU side, you can't find any mid-range GPU. I mean the RX 580 and the 570 and the GTX 1060 because of crypto mining. But here's the thing, there's a reason why I hate the RX 500 series. I mean, when they got released they don't have any big performance advantage over the RX 400 series, and they have higher price, and because of that, as I said, you can't find any RX 400 series GPU on sale. I mean, you could have got a GPU like an RX 470 for somewhere between $130 to $150. Go really cheap and you can get it for about $100 to $120. So it's really cheap prices for these GPUs. I guess AMD did this because they found their GPUs are not selling as well as Nvidia's GPUs, so they decided to refresh their GPUs with higher TDP and higher price. I mean, you can, when you compare the RX 570 when it goes on sale to an RX 480 or an RX 470, there is a huge difference. So yeah, I myself wouldn't put my money on an RX 500 GPU. It's not worth it, and plus you cannot find it anywhere. Which brings us to the high-end market, and CPU wise the high-end market is pretty saturated, but when you look at the GPUs you find only the GTX 1070. We'll get to the higher-end GPUs later, but you know, the GTX 1070 isn't as cheap as the GTX 970 last year. I mean, last year you could find the GTX 970 somewhere between $300 $350. The GTX 1070 used to be for that price, but because of crypto mining again you find it somewhere between $400 to $450, and it's the same price that it used to have before it gotten cheap. I wish I could have told you to wait for Vega, but Vega will come in December 2017. There is the RX Vega, but that's meant to compete with the GTX 1080, and I feel that they they'll price it somewhere between $400 or $500. But will you be able to get your hands on this GPU? I mean, crypto miners will take every GPU on the market. I'm looking forward to see what's gonna happen. Now, when we talk about the GTX 1080, it's not my favorable GPU right now. I mean, in some sites you'll find it more expensive than the GTX 1080 Ti itself, where the GTX 1080 Ti is the GPU that I'd recommend you to get. This GPU is priced somewhere between $600 $650. It's on sale right now. I guess there was on eBay the PNY GTX 1080 Ti for $650, so that's really good deal considering the price spikes we're looking at right now. So yeah, it's a pretty good GPU for high-end gaming. You'll get really great performance in 1440p and 4K. So if you're getting yourself a high-end gaming PC, I guess you'll not having any problems. But I don't like the GTX 1080. It falls in a really weird price range, and Nvidia do usually forget about their 80 series GPUs. I mean, when you look at the GTX 980, now it performs as good as the RX 480 and the GTX 1060. Yeah, you can say that the GTX 1060 has gotten better, but that doesn't mean that the GTX 980 got worse, you know? So that's why I don't like the GTX 1080. I guess it's a waste of money. If you don't believe me, compare the GTX 780 Ti with the R9 290, and you'll find the R9 290 right on top, simply because the GTX 780 was gimped by Nvidia. So I'll make a video really soon talking about the top 5 GPUs you can get right now. But yeah, so you might want to stay tuned for that. So subscribe if you liked that video and you want to see other videos, and don't forget to press that like button. That's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.